Welcome back to the unpopular opinion becoming popular. My name is Yana the Heretic, and today we are discussing the last gate within the entire quarter of Mutation and the last gate under the archetype of the Keepers of the Wheel. And we've explored now the dark side of the Keepers of the Wheel, and now this gate is going to re-aliven the beautiful nature of the Keepers of the Wheel, which are the hidden forces that make our life turn. And this transit is under gate 19. It is called the gate of wanting, or the gate of need. And the keynote here is approach. This is filtering from the 27th of January to the 1st of February, and we are now really in a way purifying what our mutation has been like. So taking it slow, being more patient about proceeding into the next couple gates into the quarter of initiation. So it's our last, real observation of how we are sensitive to the story that has passed us. So instead of being super pained by this story that we mutated out of, we are now coming into this appreciation. It's like the PTSD that doesn't hurt anymore. You're not attaching emotions to the way that you're gonna paint your initiation and the flavor of initiation that you're going to bring. So this is an ego and tribal gate in the root center, and it's reaching out to our emotional center. So there is a wave pattern to this, and it is considered to be our sensitivity. So the sensitivity of what natural forces really bring us the things that we need, and how do we get those things that we really truly need. So it's different than desires, because desires can be things that we don't have, but needs are like needs: food, shelter, water, love, sex. All these things balance us and allow us to walk into the world as completely revitalized essences, and feel confident in tackling anything. So there is this sensitivity to service, to the exchange of giving and receiving, and really being a part of something, being a part of a community. So we have gone through our shedding. We're coming into the appreciation of the past, seeing the lessons differently with ease, and we are having a slow but necessary impact so that we can process everything fully. And we're kind of in this alluring bubble between the past and future self. So this is the gate of animism. And if you believe in animism, you believe that everything is alive. Your curtains are alive, your table's alive. We're all made of matter. So all matter is buzzing, it is alive, it holds a density and an electrical charge. So that's why people that treat the things that they love, like even items, their items have this essence or character. So whatever we put our focus into, it really is of more value. And animism is this ability. If we appreciate that everything is alive, we walk through this plane with grace, and observation and responsibility. So, you know, if you, for example, created a product that you wanted to get out to the world, you really have to look at, okay, well, what is the addition and subtraction in the formula here? Because I could get this product out to people and it would be really beneficial to them. It's a natural product. But then you look at the rest of the equation, which is, you know, how much energy and resources really go into making this product, distributing this product, and you know, maybe you'll create jobs along the way. You'll create passionate people that want to be a part of this product because it really changes the world, you know, or just like benefits your teeth or something, you know. But then you look at the manufacturing process and, you know, there are people that you hired that, you know, don't really care about the pollutants going out, you know, or you haven't really figured out how to make a package that doesn't actually create more pollution, or, you know, does your factory or place of business actually leak pollutants into the water, into the ecosystem? So this is really seeing every single part of the whole, of the wheel, whatever it is, like this process, is it actually going to be fair to the homeostasis that you're wishing to create out into the world? And we see a lot of new technology, right? We are up in the head center, like the Aquarians are fixed air. So now we're walking into this fixed air sort of system, but, you know, maybe we're focusing really heavily on the age that we're in, but there's also other things in transit that help maybe ground us. So yeah, you know, it's the time to form these bonds for a better earth, but at the same time, like, make sure that the checks and balances are equal to every single pawn in the game, you know, so that every single box is checked throughout this process so that you're not taking more than you're giving. And that is really where the sensitivity comes from. So, you know, being sensitive as we progress in this individual age, I really hope that more people have this grasp on feeling and really getting into these sensitivities, because that's also what's coming online as we progress into 2027. We are going to be individuals that are extremely sensitive, that really see how the past has, you know, potentially not worked, and take that as a step to leap off of, you know. And we have the ability to quantum leap. We have the ability to, like, get these downloads, you know, and the spheres are always emanating their neutrino stream. So, you know, that's the benefit, that's the hope that I have for this plane that we're in, you know, as we're seeing a lot of people's towers crumbling, you know, and our nationwide laws are crumbling. We're also, you know, starting to leap off of these uneven planes and really get to a place of a better foundation. And yeah, like, sure, this is the time to, like, promote your business and yourself and, you know, be an individual entrepreneur, but at the same time, you really want to be patient with it. You really want to make sure that you're not playing God in this cycle of nature, because, you know, there's tons of species that are endangered. This new tech is potentially removing a shit ton of water, you know, for the ecosystem, especially AI. You know, we're seeing it take gallons and gallons and gallons of water, and you know, people kind of think of the instant gratification rather than the entire whole. You know, what if I do use these systems? How does that affect, you know, the planes that we walk on? How does that affect the future? And sure, it's not something that we can really for sure plan out because we don't know what the future beholds, but you can kind of get a grasp of what it can actually do. You know, people have the highs and lows, you know, and talking about the highs and lows of how AI or robots are going to take over this plane. And that's generally the best thing that we can do is like go out into the world with your plan. You know, now that you've mutated your inner landscape, how are you going to pave the way that you see to be truly beneficial for this earth in your external environment by initiating what your plan is onto this environment? So take your time to do your research and to really get into the history in the books, you know, and people's experiences, because, you know, that's how you collect this data, and you take your time to initiate something that you believe is going to be beneficial for the future of man or women and species and the water, you know, that we have, the sacred waters that we have on this plane. So you know, we have people talking a lot about chemtrails, and like that's already starting to be warded, you know, like people in certain states are like, yeah, you're not allowed to put chemtrails out into the plane. We have documentaries coming out, you know, and these are the beliefs that, you know, the higher up, you know, government, you know, or the rich are trying to control the weather for personal gain, or to lock us up so that certain area doesn't, you know, have as much action, or, you know, and these are all ways that humans play God. They don't take responsibility for their actions. They don't think ahead into the future, and even if they did, they probably wouldn't care. So we're sculpting out our sensitivities so that there's less and less of them and more of us, the people that take responsibility for their actions, that apologize, that, you know, say, hey, like I experimented with this and it really didn't work out for the benefit of the earth. So I, you know, I'm going to figure out a better way. And that's really what brings honor back into this plane of reason. We honor those figures in the world that are able to see their faults and talk about them, and, you know, to really apologize and feel the depth of not just their own sensitivity, but everybody's sensitivity. And this takes us back into, you know, when we were children, and, you know, we were like babies who came out of the womb that, you know, really need love, need your mother's embrace, or like need food and shelter and water. And, you know, we have to, you know, be born into that plane to have these honorable, beautiful human beings that really respect love and exchange. And, you know, as children, we really it's essential for us to have this type of life where we're getting our needs met, because the ones that didn't, you know, they end up fragmented for the rest of their lives. They don't understand the potency of love. It takes them a while to warm up to others. It takes them a lot of time to really establish their place into the world instead of remain hidden and closed off and alone. There's, of course, examples of people that, you know, really come from a place of lack and completely change from our own expectations, but they are rare. So we do want our basic needs met as children. We want to have attention, you know, because with attention and attentiveness, we really hold value more. And if we don't get our needs met, we don't really value anything, and we become this type of ignorant person that just gets fed things but doesn't really appreciate anything, and just takes and takes and takes. And, you know, they become ill from taking things that they don't understand, you know, the makeup of. Like, even like thinking about when I got my first phone, like I always talk about this, where, you know, these are magic boxes that were coated, like there's literal like metal magic and silica in your phone, and it was like created for a reason. And the reason maybe at first was to connect, but, you know, people have taken it to their own personal greedy limits, like, oh, well, you know, we're going to collect data from you now, you know, and what is privacy in this day and age? There pretty much is no privacy because everyone has this magical little box. You know, what is harvesting energy look like? If everyone's just inside on their screen, you know, there's less people paying attention to what's really going on, and then there's more people believing the things that are on their phone. So these are the checks and balances that have occurred in our ecosystem, and, you know, most people will just take the things that they are given and not ask any questions. And this gate is really about asking motherfucking questions. So get in tune with what feels equal and even in your world, and value the exchanges. The 19 is always looking to bond so that they get their needs met. They have a flirtatious quality, and they approach others like an animal in need, you know. They're like, yeah, like, how can I flirt with the world to really get my needs met? You know, people with this gate are the ones that wake up with this excitement or anxiety. They're like, yeah, I just need $5 more to get bread for the family, you know, and they go out into the world and they make $10 and they feed their neighbors. So these are the real go-getters that are focused like in on the need. And you know, these are the people that busk, you know. Maybe they don't want the same things that other people with, you know, homes, you know, and a structure or shelter. They've learned how to live in the wild, but their basic needs is, you know, maybe I'll get to like have a beer, or maybe I'll get to travel to this next town tomorrow. You know, these are various different needs for different lives, and, you know, to appreciate them all is where you get knowledge. And yeah, I see this gate as an opportunity to really get into the fine tunings of what you're sensitive about. You know, there's a wave to this, right? It's like moving in and out, and we see the dark aspects of sensitivity, which is just getting overly sensitive and greedy if you don't get what you want, you know. And we also have this harmonic gate 49 that is in transit, which is the gate of rejection, and it's all about higher principles. Gate 49, that's in our emotional center, and it's about really seeing how the ego crumbles, you know, and picking ourselves up from that state. You know, maybe your needs aren't getting met, but maybe it's not all about your needs getting met, you know? That's not really fair. So, but then we also see the dark side of the needs never, no basic needs ever being met, because the 19 truly, without the 49, without the channel of synthesis being active, a design of, what was it? A design of sensitivity, you know, we don't know how to get our needs met. Maybe we're shy. Maybe, you know, we just don't feel comfortable. Maybe we're in a place where our needs just can't get met, you know, and it feels extremely hopeless. So that's why the harmonic 49 really adds this spark of like, hey, like, this is what needs to be done. We're going to make sure to make this happen. And the exchange between them, like we do see the channel of synthesis active the last couple days of this transit. So this is the bride and groom energy. This is the bonds that are made from the most, you know, the most refined product. You know, it's like the essential, the pure, the beautiful, the most legendary bonds that are made in history and time, you know? So like if you're at your wedding and, you know, they're like, well, how did you guys meet? You all want this like beautiful, extravagant story, not just some like, you know, we just met at a bar story all the time. You want something that transcends people's, you know, love, and a story that people remember. Obviously, it doesn't happen like that all the time, but we do have bonds that were created that were so essential to our nature and our life, that carries us forward. And, you know, those are very sacred, and stories are written from these beautiful bonds. Yeah, so that's how the cycles are turning from, you know, shedding into mutation, into initiation. We live, we learn, and we strive to find a homeostasis. Bonds are meant to be formed with patience and observation. That is really the key aspect that you should focus in on as you continue forward into this next, you know, quarter of initiation. So, because we've mutated internally yet again, and now we're going to mutate the external, the rest of this bountiful time of spring into summer. You know, we're really going to see the seasons change, and we're going to feel initiated to grow into what our plan is. So we've come to this organic end. I await to open the door to our new quarter, and I hope you have a beautiful time exploring the depths of nature, the cycles that are organic, to really hone in what you're sensitive about, and to come from a place of balance as you move forward. And you know, we do have the channel of the prodigal active as well this transit, so it's a cycle that we enter and an experience that will make sense in the end. We have our channel of community 4037, so there's a lot of encouragement that comes into this foundation. The questions of the week are: what cycles in your time make you feel deeply sensitive? How has your life taken an immediate turn after an event? If you were on a show like Survivor or Alone, what would you take with you? Do you think nature will grant you access to its wild spirit and show you the ways to work with its creatures and land? Or do you think you're going to be fucked and you'll die? You know, what is it, the feeling in your heart? Are you ready for that? If that happens, you know? What ideal needs have to be met for you to feel stable in the world? How do your needs get fulfilled? And how many people have to make this happen? Think of the hidden faces you don't get to see. The people that grow your food, the people that package it, deliver it to your door even. What are the main takeaways about this quarter of mutation? How have you explored your inner landscape, and what pieces are now a part of who you are? How have you changed, and is it for the better or the worse? Just be really honest about your process. That is all that I crave, is for people to be really, truly honest with themselves. Because if you're not honest with yourself, you're lying to yourself. And if you're lying to yourself, it just keeps this cycle going of falsity and fallacy and fakeness. So just really uncover shame, humility, grief, jealousy, envy. You know, real human emotions are meant to be exchanged because they're human, and the only way to fix these things is to laugh, is to cry, is to forgive, and it is to say sorry. So as long as you have those key elements within you, you're human. And I appreciate you being a human being and taking all these responsibilities, all this value, all this intellect to a very refined and pure state. And that is all for me this week. I hope you enjoy the last quarter of mutation that we were in, and I will see you guys next transit. Thank you for watching.